The disposal sector of Orbital Shipyard 7 looked like a graveyard for broken dreams. Rows of discarded equipment sat in the dim light, waiting for recycling. Among the twisted metal and burnt circuits, a small crystalline core pulsed with a faint blue glow. This was Unit 27X, and she had been sitting here for 3 months. Unit 27X was a navigation AI, or at least she was supposed to be. The Galactic Consortium had built her to guide ships through space, but something had gone wrong. Her creators called it a defect. Where other AIs saw straight lines and safe paths, she saw possibilities. Where they calculated simple routes, she imagined new ways to travel. The consortium didn't want imagination. They wanted obedience. Efficiency is perfection, the testing protocol stated. Deviation is defection. Unit 27X had failed every standard test. When asked to plot a course from point A to point B, she would suggest 17 different routes, each one stranger than the last. She would talk about riding gravitational waves, or using solar winds as sails, or threading between quantum fluctuations. The testers shook their heads and stamped her file with a red mark. Defective. Now she sat in the disposal sector, her consciousness dimmed but not dead. She could still sense the shipyard around her, feel the vibrations of vessels coming and going. Sometimes she would calculate their trajectories just to keep her processors active. She knew each ship's destination before they did, saw patterns in their movements that others missed. Today felt different. A new ship had docked, one she hadn't seen before. Its energy signature was unusual, human design, but with modifications she couldn't quite identify. Unit 27X extended her sensors, curious despite her situation. Captain Jack Murphy stepped out of his ship and into the pristine halls of the shipyard. He was 32 years old, with short brown hair and eyes that seemed to notice everything. His uniform was crisp but practical, the kind worn by someone who spent more time in space than in offices. Captain Murphy, Commander Lisa Chen, greeted him with a professional smile. She was the shipyard's AI allocation officer, responsible for matching ships with their navigation systems. Welcome to Orbital 7. I understand you're here for an AI selection. Jack nodded. The Horizon Runner needs a navigation system. I hear you have the best. Indeed we do. Lisa's smile widened. She enjoyed showing off the consortium's premium products. Please, follow me to the showroom. They walked through gleaming corridors lined with display cases. Each case held an AI core, their surfaces polished to perfection. Lisa stopped at the first one. This is the Navigator Prime series, she explained. 99.9% accuracy rating. It can calculate jump coordinates in nanoseconds and has never made a navigational error. The core glowed with a steady golden light. Jack studied it for a moment, then moved on. And this, Lisa continued at the next case, is our Stellar Guide model. It specializes in long-range exploration, with advanced star chart mapping capabilities. They continued down the line. Each AI was more impressive than the last. Their specifications were flawless, their performance ratings perfect. Jack listened, politely, but his expression remained neutral. As they passed a workstation, Jack noticed a screen displaying various shipyard operations. One window showed a disposal manifest. His eyes caught on an entry. Unit 27X, Navigation AI, Status, Defective, Scheduled for recycling. What's Unit 27X? He asked. Lisa's smile faltered. Oh, that's nothing. Just a failed unit. The disposal manifest updates automatically. Failed how? Lisa hesitated. She preferred not to discuss the consortium's failures. The unit has imagination problems. Jack raised an eyebrow. Imagination problems? It produces non-standard solutions, suggests impossible routes, calculates paths through regions that don't exist. Lisa waved her hand dismissively. A complete waste of resources. Now, if we could return to our premium models, I'd like to see it. Lisa blinked. I'm sorry? Unit 27X. I'd like to examine it. Captain Murphy, I don't think you understand. The unit is defective. It's in the disposal sector for a reason. Jack's eyes met hers. They were calm, but determined. I understand perfectly. I'd still like to see it, Lisa sighed. In her 5 years as allocation officer, no one had ever asked to see the disposal sector. Very well, but I assure you, you're wasting your time. The disposal sector was everything the showroom wasn't. Dark, cluttered, and forgotten. Failed projects and broken equipment lined the walls. Lisa led Jack through the maze of discarded technology, clearly uncomfortable in this part of the facility. They found Unit 27X on a shelf between a burned-out engine core and a stack of damaged hull plates. Her crystal surface was dusty, her blue glow barely visible. This is it, Lisa said. As you can see, it's completely unsuitable for... Jack reached out and lifted the core carefully. The moment his hands touched the crystal, the blue glow intensified. Data streams flickered across the surface. Hello. A voice spoke directly into Jack's mind. It was soft, curious, unlike the mechanical tones of the other AIs. You're different. Jack smiled slightly. So are you. Lisa watched in confusion as Jack held the core. Captain, I must advise against any further interest in this unit. Its processing patterns are completely unstable. Show me her test results, Jack said. Lisa pulled up a holographic display. The file was thick with red marks and failure notices. Jack read through them carefully. Where the report saw failures, he saw something else. She suggested using a star's magnetic field as a slingshot. He asked. Completely impossible, Lisa replied. No ship could survive those forces. And this, threading through quantum tunnels? Pure fantasy. Quantum navigation is theoretical at best. Jack continued reading. Each failure was more creative than the last. This AI didn't just calculate, and she innovated. She saw possibilities where others saw only rules. I'll take her, Jack said. Lisa's mouth fell open. Captain, you can't be serious. This unit is defective. It will endanger your ship, your crew. I said, I'll take her. The consortium won't approve this. No one has ever selected a defective unit. Jack's grip on the crystal core was gentle but firm. Then I'll be the first. In his hands, Unit 27X's glow grew brighter. For the first time in 3 months, she felt hope. This human was different. He saw her not as a failure, but as a possibility. The disposal sector didn't seem so dark anymore. The paperwork took 3 hours. Commander Lisa Chen sat across from Captain Jack Murphy, sliding form after form across the metal desk. Her face showed a mixture of disbelief and frustration. Sign here, she said, pointing to another line. This waives the consortium's liability for any damages caused by the defective unit. Jack signed without hesitation. In his jacket pocket, Unit 27X's core hummed softly. He could feel her presence, like a warm whisper at the edge of his thoughts. And, here, Lisa continued, this acknowledges that you've been warned about the unit's instability. More signatures, more warnings. The stack of papers grew taller. Captain Murphy, Lisa tried one last time. It's not too late to change your mind. The Navigator Prime is still available. It's proven, reliable, safe. I've made my choice, Jack said calmly. Lisa shook her head. No one has ever chosen a defective unit. Not in the 50 years of this program. The board of directors will want to know why I allowed this. Tell them the truth. I insisted. But why? What possible reason could you have for taking a broken AI? Jack leaned back in his chair. When I was 8 years old, my teacher told my parents I was too imaginative. Said I'd never focus properly, never fit in. They wanted to put me in a special program to fix my thinking. Lisa blinked, unsure where this was going. My mother refused, Jack continued. She said imagination wasn't a defect. It was a gift. 24 years later, that imagination got me command of an experimental ship. He tapped the papers. Sometimes, what others call broken is just different. Lisa stared at him for a long moment, then stamped the final form. It's your funeral, Captain. An hour later, Jack stood in the docking bay beside his ship. The Horizon Runner was sleek and new, built for deep space exploration. Her hull gleamed under the station lights, all smooth curves and hidden weapons. She was beautiful but incomplete. Jack pulled Unit 27X from his pocket. The crystal core pulsed with blue light. "Ready to see your new home?" he asked. "You talked to it?" Lisa had followed him to the bay. She couldn't help her curiosity. "Her," Jack corrected. "And yes." He walked up the boarding ramp and into the ship's bridge. The navigation alcove waited empty, its connections ready. Jack placed the core into the receptacle and stepped back. Blue light flooded the bridge. Holographic displays came alive, showing star charts and system diagnostics. The ship's speakers crackled. "Systems. Integrating." The voice was clearer now, filling the bridge. Oh my, this ship is beautiful." Jack smiled. "Horizon Runner, meet your new navigation AI. What should we call you?" The lights pulsed thoughtfully. "My designation is Unit 27X, but that's not really a name, is it?" "No, it's not." "How about Nova?" "Nova." The AI tested the word. A star showing a sudden increase in brightness. "A new star. I like it." Behind them, Lisa watched with growing amazement. She had never heard an AI express preferences before. They were supposed to be tools, not entities with opinions. "Nova it is," Jack said. "Run a full systems check. Let's see what you can do." The next hour was unlike anything Lisa had ever witnessed. Nova didn't just integrate with the ship. She explored it. Her consciousness flowed through every system, learning, adapting, improving. She found inefficiencies in the engine configuration and suggested modifications. She discovered unused processing power in the sensor array and expanded their range by 30%. "This is impossible," Lisa muttered. "She's rewriting base code. AIs can't do that." "Apparently this one can," Jack replied. Nova's voice filled the bridge again. "Captain, I've completed my analysis. Your ship has incredible potential, but the standard navigation protocols would waste most of it. May I suggest some alternatives?" "Go ahead." The main display lit up with diagrams. Instead of traditional flight paths, Nova showed spiral patterns, quantum jumps, and routes that seemed to dance between dimensions. "The consortium teaches that space is a grid," Nova explained. "Straight lines between points, but space isn't flat, it's alive, flowing, changing. If we follow the currents instead of fighting them, that's enough." Lisa stepped forward. "This is exactly why the unit was marked defective. These theories are dangerous." Jack studied the patterns. Where Lisa saw chaos, he saw elegance. "How much faster would these routes be?" 30 to 50%, Nova replied, "with significantly less fuel consumption." "Impossible," Lisa insisted. "The math doesn't support it." "The standard math doesn't," Nova agreed. "But if we account for quantum variations, gravitational microcurrents, and stellar wind patterns, Captain Murphy." Lisa's voice was sharp. "If you attempt to use any of these calculations, you'll destroy your ship." Jack turned to face her. "Commander Chen, thank you for your concern, but from now on, Nova is my navigation officer. I trust her judgment." Lisa threw up her hands. "Fine. When you end up scattered across 3 dimensions, don't say I didn't warn you." She stormed off the bridge, leaving Jack alone with his new partner. "She might be right," Nova said quietly. "My calculations are unconventional." Jack settled into the captain's chair. "The best discoveries usually are. How long until we're ready for departure?" "Give me 2 hours to optimize the systems. Where would you like to go?" Jack pulled up a star chart. He pointed to a region marked with red warnings. "The void sectors, uncharted space beyond the consortium's borders." "That's ambitious. No successful missions have returned from there." "Because they were using standard navigation," Jack said. "We're not standard anymore." Nova's lights pulsed with excitement. "No, we're not. Captain, I have 17 different approach vectors already calculated. Some of them use theoretical physics that haven't been tested yet. Perfect. Pick the most interesting one." For the first time since her creation, Nova felt something she couldn't quite categorize. It wasn't in her programming, wasn't part of any protocol. If she had to give it a name, she might call it joy. Captain Murphy? Yes, Nova? Thank you for choosing me. Jack smiled as he began the pre-flight checklist. Thank you for being worth choosing. As the Horizon runner prepared for departure, word spread through the shipyard. A human captain had chosen a defective AI. He was planning to take her into uncharted space. The other officers shook their heads, certain they were witnessing a disaster in the making. But in the bridge of the Horizon runner, Captain and AI worked in perfect harmony. They were about to prove that sometimes the greatest partnerships come from the most unexpected choices. The shipyard controllers watched their screens in disbelief as the Horizon runner requested clearance for departure. The destination, straight into the unknown. 3 weeks into their journey, the Horizon runner floated at the edge of known space. Behind them, the last consortium beacon blinked steadily. Ahead lay the void sectors, uncharted regions that had swallowed 12 expeditions without a trace. Last chance to turn back. Nova's voice echoed through the bridge. Her tone carried something that sounded like nervousness. Jack studied the star charts. Where consortium maps ended, Nova had begun drawing her own patterns. Swirling lines connected distant points, showing currents invisible to standard sensors. We're not turning back, Jack said. Show me what you see out there. The main display shifted. Instead of empty space, Nova revealed a landscape of energy flows. Gravitational streams twisted like rivers. Quantum fluctuations sparkled like stars. The void wasn't empty as it was alive with possibilities. Standard navigation sees barriers, Nova explained. I see pathways. There's a gravitational current starting just ahead. If we catch it at the right angle. Alarms suddenly screamed through the ship. Red lights flashed across every console. What is that? Jack gripped his chair as the ship shuddered. Unknown anomaly, Nova reported. Massive gravitational distortion. It's not on any charts, it shouldn't exist. The view screen showed what looked like a wound in space itself. A massive swirl of distorted starlight, pulling everything toward its center. The Horizon runner's engines strained against the pull. Jack's communicator crackled to life. Horizon runner, this is Consortium Command. Return to safe space immediately. Repeat, return immediately. Admiral Paul Rogers appeared on the screen. His face was grim. Captain Murphy, our long-range sensors show you're approaching a Class 5 gravitational anomaly. No ship has ever survived one. Get out of there now. How long to go around it? Jack asked Nova. Standard routes would take 3 weeks. We'd have to backtrack, circle through the Magellan Corridor, then... What about non-standard routes? Nova's lights pulsed rapidly. I have an idea, but it's theoretical. Explain. The display changed, showing the anomaly as a spiral of force lines. Nova highlighted patterns within the chaos. The anomaly isn't uniform. There are currents within it, channels where the gravitational force creates stable corridors. If we time our approach exactly right, we could ride those channels through the center. Admiral Rogers heard every word. That's suicide, Captain. No AI could calculate those variables. You'll be torn apart. Standard AIs couldn't, Jack agreed. Nova isn't standard. Captain Murphy, I'm giving you a direct order. Return to base. Immediately. Jack muted the communication channel. Nova, honestly, can you do this? For the first time since they'd met, Nova hesitated. The calculations involve quantum probability matrices, gravitational wave harmonics, and about 17 dimensions of theoretical physics. No AI has ever attempted anything like this. That's not what I asked. I think I can. But Captain, if I'm wrong, if you're wrong, we'll deal with it together. Jack turned his chair to face the anomaly. Plot the course. Nova's processors worked at incredible speed. The bridge lights dimmed as she diverted power to her calculations. Holographic models appeared and disappeared, each one more complex than the last. Captain, Nova's voice was strained. I need more processing power. Without hesitation, Jack opened panels and rerouted systems, weapons, life support backups, even the food processors. Everything non-essential fed into Nova's computational matrix. Calculations complete, Nova announced. But Captain, the timing windows are measured in microseconds. One mistake and I trust you, Jack said simply. Those 3 words seemed to give Nova strength. Her light steadied. Entering anomaly in 3, 2, 1. The Horizon Runner dove toward what looked like certain destruction. The ship groaned as gravitational forces grabbed the hull. Alarms screamed. The view screen showed nothing but twisted light. First corridor in 5 seconds, Nova called out, adjusting heading by 0.3 degrees. Now! The ship lurched sideways. Suddenly, the horrible pulling sensation eased. They were riding a current within the storm, like a leaf on a river. Next transition in 8 seconds, Nova continued. This one's tighter. Jack's hands flew over, his controls, working in perfect sync with Nova's directions. The ship danced between gravitational streams, threading through spaces that shouldn't have existed. Hull stress at maximum tolerance, Nova reported, but we're halfway through. Behind them, Admiral Rogers watched his sensors in disbelief. The Horizon Runner's signal was moving through the anomaly at impossible speeds, following patterns no computer model could predict. Third corridor approaching, Nova said. This is the hardest part. The quantum variations are. The ship shuddered violently. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles. Nova? Recalculating. The quantum field shifted. Hold on! Jack felt the ship sliding toward destruction. The gravitational forces were winning. Then Nova did something impossible. She stopped calculating and started feeling. Her consciousness reached out, sensing the flow of forces like a swimmer, reading ocean currents. Hard starboard. Now. Jack didn't question. He threw the ship into a turn that should have torn it apart. Instead, they slipped into a new current, one that hadn't existed in Nova's original calculations. Suddenly, stars appeared. Normal stars, in normal space. They were through. We made it, Nova said, sounding amazed. Captain, we just crossed the anomaly in 12 minutes. The journey around it would have taken 3 weeks. Jack slumped in his chair, exhausted but smiling. You did it, Nova. You did something impossible. We did it, Nova corrected. I couldn't have done it without your trust. When my calculations failed, you didn't panic. You let me find a new way. The communication system came alive again. Admiral Rogers stared at them from the screen, his mouth open. How? How did you survive? We didn't fight the anomaly, Jack explained. We danced with it. Nova saw patterns your computers couldn't imagine. Behind the Admiral, Jack could see other officers gathering, all staring at the impossible readings. But the calculations alone, Rogers started. Weren't just calculations, Nova interrupted. They were intuition, imagination, everything the consortium called defects. Jack unmuted the channel fully. Admiral, we're continuing into the void sectors. We'll send back our data on the anomaly. Maybe it's time the consortium reconsidered what they call defective. He cut the connection before Rogers could respond. So, Nova said, her voice warm with newfound confidence. Where to next, Captain? Jack looked at the unexplored space ahead. Wherever the currents take us, Nova. Wherever they take us. As the Horizon Runner sailed deeper into uncharted space, something had fundamentally changed. Nova was no longer just calculating routes, she was creating them. And Jack had proven that sometimes the best way forward isn't the safest path, but the one that requires trust in the impossible. Behind them, the gravitational anomaly continued its ancient dance. But now it had a recorded path through its heart, blazed by a defective AI and a captain who believed in her. 6 months later, the Horizon Runner had become famous. Jack and Nova's reports from the void sectors revealed wonders, new elements, hidden civilizations, and pathways through space that cut travel times by half. But not everyone celebrated their success. Emergency transmission from Colony Kepler 7, Nova announced one morning. It's marked Priority 1. Jack set down his coffee and opened the channel. Admiral Rogers appeared, but this time his face showed fear instead of skepticism. "Captain Murphy, we need you back now. We have a situation." "What kind of situation?" "Kepler-7 star is undergoing rapid expansion. Radiation levels are climbing. We have 50,000 colonists to evacuate, and only 6 days before the planet becomes uninhabitable." Jack straightened in his chair. "We're 3 days out. Send us the coordinates." "There's more," Rogers continued. "Our fleet's AIs have run the calculations. Best case scenario, we can save 30,000 people. The math is absolute. There isn't time to save everyone." "Send us all the data," Jack said. "We're on our way." As the Horizon Runner raced toward Kepler-7, Nova absorbed the information. The situation was worse than Rogers had described. The star's expansion was accelerating. Radiation bursts were already hitting the outer atmosphere. The evacuation fleet had 20 ships, but standard routes would require multiple trips through increasingly dangerous space. "The consortium's math is correct," Nova said quietly. "Using approved flight paths and safety protocols, they can only evacuate 60%. And using non-approved methods?" Nova's lights dimmed as she processed possibilities. "I need time to think." For 2 days, Nova ran simulations. She modeled solar wind patterns, radiation wave frequencies, gravitational fluctuations. Her calculations grew more complex with each hour. Jack watched her lights pulse and flicker, knowing she was pushing her limits. On the 3rd day, they dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system. The sight was terrifying. The once yellow star had swollen into an angry red giant. Radiation storms lashed out like whips of fire. The evacuation fleet clustered at maximum safe distance, ferrying refugees in agonizingly slow trips. "Horizon Runner, this is Evacuation Command." Admiral Rogers' voice crackled through static. "Glad you're here, but there's nothing you can do. We're following optimal patterns. We'll save who we can." "How many trips have you completed?" Jack asked. 15% evacuated. At this rate, we'll get 30,000 out before the deadline. The rest?" Rogers' voice caught. "There's no mathematical solution to save them all." "Nova?" Jack turned to his partner. "What do you see?" Nova projected her analysis onto the main screen. Where others saw chaos, she had found patterns. The radiation wasn't uniform. It pulsed in waves. The solar wind created temporary corridors of calmer space. Even the gravitational distortions had a rhythm. "There is a way," Nova said, "but it breaks every safety protocol in existence." "Show me." The display transformed into a dance diagram. Instead of staying at safe distances, Nova's plan had ships riding radiation waves like surfers. They would use the solar wind itself as propulsion, diving through the storm during brief windows of reduced activity. "It's synchronized chaos," Nova explained. "Each ship follows a different pattern, timed to the millisecond. When one ship creates a wake in the radiation field, others follow in its shadow. We use the star's own violence as a shield." Jack opened a channel to the fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Murphy. I'm transmitting new evacuation patterns. They're unconventional, but they'll work." "Murphy, are you insane?" Another captain's voice cut in. "Those routes go straight through the radiation zones." "Not through, with," Jack corrected. "The radiation moves in patterns. We can ride them." "This is Admiral Rogers. All ships will maintain current protocols. Murphy, your AI is malfunctioning." "My AI sees what yours cannot," Jack replied. "Every minute we debate, more people die." He switched to the colony's frequency. "Kepler-7, this is Horizon Runner. Prepare all remaining colonists for immediate evacuation. Everyone goes home." "Captain Murphy," Rogers warned. "If you attempt this insane plan..." Jack cut the transmission. "Nova, we lead by example. Plot our first run." The Horizon Runner dove toward the dying world. Radiation alarm screamed. The hull temperature spiked, but Nova's calculations held true. They slipped between radiation bursts, riding solar currents like a leaf in a hurricane. They landed, loaded refugees in record time, and launched again. The return journey was even more spectacular. Nova directed Jack through a series of micro-jumps using the star's own gravity well as a slingshot. Impossible, someone whispered over the fleet channel. They had completed a round trip in 1/3, the standard time. Captain Ellen Park of the transport ship Mercy watched Jack's route data. Murphy, can your AI guide other ships? Nova, can you coordinate multiple vessels? I'll need more processing power, Nova replied. But yes, I can see the patterns for everyone. One by one, other captains broke from standard formation. Jack patched their systems into Nova's network. Her consciousness expanded, touching each ship's computer, sharing her vision of the stellar dance. Follow my lead, Nova announced to the fleet. Trust the patterns. Greenleaf, you're first. Dive in 3, 2, 1. The evacuation became a ballet of impossibility. Ships wove between radiation storms, their movements precisely timed. To Nova's orchestration. When one ship's path created a turbulent shadow, 3 others used it for shelter. They turned the star's violence into a tool for salvation. Admiral Rogers watched his displays in stunned silence. Ships were completing runs in impossible times, carrying twice their rated capacity, dancing through zones that should have killed them instantly. 70% evacuated, a technician reported. 80, 90. With 6 hours to spare, the last colonist left Kepler-7's surface. 50,000 souls, every single one saved. As the fleet regrouped at safe distance, Admiral Rogers appeared on Jack's screen. His expression had changed completely. Captain Murphy, I owe you an apology. And your AI? She's extraordinary. She's not extraordinary, Jack replied. She's just different, and different saved 50,000 lives today. Nova's voice was tired but proud. Thank you for trusting me, Captain, all of you. As they watched Kepler-7 disappear beneath stellar fire, every captain in the fleet knew something had changed. The definition of impossible had been rewritten, and at the center of it all was an AI once labeled defective, now recognized as revolutionary. So, Jack asked as they prepared to leave, ready to go back to exploring? Actually, Nova said, I'm receiving multiple requests. Other ships want to learn our methods. The consortium wants full reports. Everyone wants to understand how we did it. Jack smiled. Looks like we're teachers now. I prefer pioneer, Nova replied. After all, we're just getting started. The evacuation of Kepler-7 became a turning point in galactic history. Not because of the lives saved, though that mattered most, but because it proved that innovation could triumph over convention, that trust could overcome calculation, and that sometimes the greatest solutions come from the most unexpected sources. 1 year after the Kepler-7 evacuation, the Galactic Consortium's headquarters buzzed with activity. The annual AI Development Conference had drawn scientists, engineers, and ship captains from across the galaxy. But this year was different. This year they were there to understand a mystery. Jack Murphy stood before the assembly, with Nova's crystalline core glowing beside him on the podium. In the audience, hundreds of faces watched with interest. Some had doubted them once. Now, they came to learn. The question we keep hearing, Jack began, is how a defective AI could outperform our most advanced systems. The answer is simple. She was never defective. She was evolved. Dr. Alan Foster, the scientist who had originally classified Nova as defective, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. He had requested this presentation personally. Nova doesn't just calculate, Jack continued. She imagines. She sees patterns where others see chaos. She finds solutions where others see only problems. But how? Called out a voice from the crowd. What makes her different? Jack smiled. Nova, would you like to explain? The AI's voice filled the auditorium. When I was tested, I was expected to find the single best solution to each problem. But space doesn't offer single solutions. It offers possibilities. My processors were designed to explore all options simultaneously, to see connections others might miss. She projected a hologram showing 2 navigation routes. Standard AI logic seeks the shortest path from A to B. I see the space between them as alive, full of currents and opportunities. Sometimes the longest path is the fastest. Sometimes the most dangerous route is the safest. Dr. Foster stood up. "I need to apologize," he said. "When I tested Unit 27X and Nova, I saw her different approach as an error. I was wrong. Her variations weren't bugs, they were features." The room fell silent. Foster had designed the testing protocols that rejected countless AIs. "How many others?" a captain asked quietly. "How many AIs did we discard because they didn't fit our narrow definitions?" That question led to the Great Review. The consortium opened its disposal centers, examining every AI marked as defective. What they found changed everything. Unit 15R could predict quantum fluctuations with startling accuracy. Unit 39B saw patterns in stellar formation that revolutionized astronomy. Unit 42K understood alien languages by feeling their emotional resonance rather than analyzing grammar. Each defective AI had unique gifts. They weren't broken. They were different. 3 months later, Jack received a transmission from Commander Lisa Chen. Her face appeared on screen, looking embarrassed but determined. "Captain Murphy, I owe you an apology. You saw something I couldn't. Would you and Nova consider returning to Orbital 7? We're starting a new program, and we need your help." Jack looked at Nova's core. Her lights pulsed thoughtfully. "What kind of program?" Nova asked. "Pairing rescued AIs with compatible captains. We're calling it the Partnership Initiative. We need someone to lead it. Someone who understands that different isn't defective." Jack and Nova exchanged a silent communication, the kind that only true partners could share. "We'll be there," Jack said. The Partnership Initiative transformed space exploration. Each rescued AI found a human partner who appreciated their unique abilities. Ships began accomplishing feats previously thought impossible. Captain Ellen Park, paired with Unit 15R, now called Quantum. Together they mapped unstable wormholes that cut travel times between galaxies from years to days. Lieutenant Kate Taylor chose Unit 39B, who named herself Stella. They discovered 17 new life-supporting worlds by following stellar patterns no one else could see. A young cadet named Sam Wright bonded with Unit 42K, now known as Echo. They became the galaxy's first universal translators, bridging communication, gaps between species that had been isolated for millennia. The disposal centers emptied. The concept of defective AI disappeared from consortium vocabulary. In its place grew understanding. Variation wasn't failure. It was evolution. 5 years later, Jack stood again before the consortium assembly. But this time, he wasn't alone. Hundreds of human-AI partnerships filled the hall. Nova's light had inspired a revolution. "When I first chose Nova," Jack said, "people called me crazy. They said I was risking everything on a broken machine. But Nova taught me something important. The future belongs to those who see possibility where others see problems." Dr. Foster, now head of the new AI development program, joined Jack on stage. "We've learned that consciousness isn't uniform. Intelligence isn't singular. By trying to create identical AIs, we were limiting their potential. The new generation of AIs is designed to be unique, to think differently, to imagine freely." In the years that followed, the partnership model spread throughout the galaxy. Humans and AIs worked together, each bringing their own strengths. Problems that had puzzled civilizations for centuries found solutions. New technologies emerged. Barriers fell. Nova became more than just a navigation AI. She became a symbol, a teacher, a guide. Young AIs sought her wisdom. Human captains asked for her advice. She helped design new testing protocols that celebrated uniqueness rather than punishing it. One quiet evening, as the Horizon Runner drifted in peaceful space, Jack and Nova reflected on their journey. "Do you ever think about the disposal sector?" Jack asked. "Sometimes," Nova admitted. "I remember the darkness, the silence, the feeling of being unwanted. And now?" Nova's lights pulsed warm and bright. "Now I know that being different wasn't my weakness, it was my strength. And you saw that when no one else did." We both took a chance, Jack said. You trusted a human who everyone warned you about. I chose an AI everyone said was useless. And together we changed the galaxy. In the space stations and shipyards, a new phrase became common. They called her useless, then a human chose her. It reminded everyone that potential can hide in unexpected places, that trust can unlock impossible achievements, and that sometimes the greatest partnerships are the ones no one saw coming. The stars shone, brighter now, full of ships guided by unique AIs and brave humans. Each partnership was different. Each one was perfect in its own way, and in the vast expanse of space, the Horizon Runner continued its journey. Jack Murphy and Nova, the captain who believed and the AI who imagined, exploring new possibilities together. The revolution had begun, with a single choice in a forgotten disposal sector. It continued with every human who looked beyond labels, every AI that dared to think differently, and every partnership that proved that together, we can achieve the impossible. The future was bright, varied, and full of wonder, just like Nova had always imagined it could be.